Hello, everyone. I am Kat, and you are tuning into Cosmic Metamorphosis. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sorry I have not been able to do a video until now. My work schedule has been absolutely crazy. So my one day off during the week, like I have a couple of days off, but it seems like one day off has either been on the weekend where I don't really do it while family members are in the house. So I like to be quiet when I do my videos, but I just have not had time to make a video for you guys. So thank you so much for all my subscribers, for having some patience with me. And I still have to go through my emails, my comments. I did want to mention, I have had comments on YouTube that it shows I have a comment, but I'll go into the comments and there'll be nothing there, or I can't open it. So I don't know what's been going on with my YouTube comments. So if you really want me to see something, like, please email me at the link below. I do have to get back with one in particular person. So I'm so sorry I haven't been able to. It's been crazy nuts, and the world has been crazy nuts lately. Like every time you turn around, there's news here and news there, and things are happening, and it's just so overwhelming, just very overwhelming right now. And I just feel exhausted. So I don't know how many others of you are feeling, just extremely exhausted. Yeah, I just feel like I'm either at work or I'm at home and I'm sleeping. Or if I am at home, when I'm at home, I'm like either cleaning or cooking, and I basically have no time to myself. So it's been very, very challenging. So I did want to mention back last week, a week ago on the 19th, I had a dream in the morning. If you don't watch my channel, like I have had like prophetic dreams before. So a lot of those, not a lot, but a handful have come true. But I did have a dream. I woke up and wow, I can't believe it. But in my dream, there was a lot of military action. Okay. I was involved in it. I was part of it. I was driving like a big military truck. It was really, really kind of weird. So it was kind of like army camouflage clothing. I'm telling you, it's from the army, that sort of coloring camouflage. And yeah, there was just a lot of action going on, and they were getting ready. We were getting ready to head out and get something started. And I've never had a dream about the military before, ever, like that. So after I woke up in the morning, I got on my Telegram pages, and I started finding out that a lot of people, especially through the eastern states, have been reporting a lot of military action on the ground, and a lot of the helicopters and Blackhawks. And so my jaw just dropped, because I was like, oh my gosh, something is definitely going on. So I just wanted to put that out there. There's been lots of sunflower activity. I've had bloody noses that just come on instantly, last for a day or two, and then they're gone. I had a migraine a couple weeks ago. So I always tend to get migraines and bloody noses during any solar activities. Anyway, today we're going to go over Alex Colliers' webinar from March 18th, so about a week ago, his number 153 from his Bright Tion page. Lots of information. So I will start out. There was some information on Real Raw News. around March 15th, he said that our Delta Force has seized the deep state stronghold out in Mount Weather, Virginia. It is a FEMA facility where the EBS system is, and the White Hats took it over. So basically, this was a very well protected area, and a lot of those protecting it were away in, I guess he said, Texas, on some kind of class training or something. So the Alliance was able to breach basically the barrier and get inside. He said it's 50 miles outside of DC and it's underground. So basically the White Hat Alliance was able to get in there and take over. So, and there was shots fired, some people died. I will put a link below if you are interested in that. So hopefully soon. I'm still hoping we do get an EBS, because I think there's still so many people that just have no clue. They have no clue what's going on. Like, I go to work and like the people I work with, well, you know, it's like that little puppet Peanut from Jeff Dunham, like Peanut, just it just goes right over their head. They just don't have a clue what is going on in the world. It just amazes me. I just don't get it. It is definitely two different worlds we are living in. So anyway, he also said in the Miami Standard, there is something they were talking about, which was called Project Sandman, which is basically an alliance of 100 countries or 100 nations. And they all at one time are going to drop the US reserve dollar, basically, and the petrodollar. So he says it's coming. And we will have a market crash at some point. So look up Project Sandman. And he said FDA was ordered by the court to release all information of the testing of the vaccines, and decided they're not going to do it. So they are defying a court order, and they want to hold that information for 55 years. I think that's a little bit of old news. That's months back. So, but if you didn't know, this is what's going on. And he says, so Alex says, you have to ask yourself, why would the FDA do something like this? He said, well, they're complicit with bribery, fraud, crimes against humanity. He says, and that's why. He said, there's basically no other reasons, is that they were totally complicit in harming humanity. So yeah, like not only the CDC and WHO and, you know, all these institutions are crimes against humanity. So they all have to come down. Let me open the door because my cat is at the door. She likes to hang in here with me when I do videos. Come on. Hello. So he says, here's something interesting. If you were a Ukrainian, you'd have to say to yourself, what the fuck? He said, whatever is truly going on in the Ukraine, he said, again, we cannot trust our media showing bombed out areas and pictures from other scenarios from years ago. And I'm sure if you follow the truth movement, you've seen like all these fake pictures from different excursions from years ago, and they're claiming these are new pictures. So it's all propaganda. He said, if you go back to 2011, literally Beirut, they're not showing Ukraine at all. It's basically footage from Beirut. Any real journalist that's interviewing the Ukrainians say their own government is doing it to them. So of course they are, because they're Satanists and they're Nazis. He says, well, what they've done in the dark of the night, Zelensky is implementing the Great Reset while we speak, the World Economic Social Credit System, which takes it a few notches worse than what China currently has. He says they have implemented this and should tell you everything about who these people really are. Yeah, evil. He says, our media will not tell you anything. If you want to know what's going on in the US, just look at foreign media, and you should be doing that anyways, he says. So it's true. We don't know anything that's going on. If you watch the MSM, hopefully you're not. I haven't been watching news like that for, gosh, probably 15 plus years now. He says the Ukrainians are not only losing their freedoms, but they're also losing their private property. That's the whole cornerstone, he said. And you will own nothing and be happy about it, right? No, I don't think so. And then he says, you remember Malaysia MH370 flight that supposedly crashed a few years ago? He says, there were 4 particular engineers that were aboard who created a very specific semiconductor chip, and they were over there showing it to someone. I believe they were out of Austin, Texas, where I used to live. And it says now the initial funding for this, which was their mistake, was Jacob Rothschild's companies. He says when they mysteriously disappeared, the 4 great engineers were lost. And as of last week, because of their death, Jacob Rothschild now owns the patent for this same semiconductor. He says, and everyone wants to know why we have a semiconductor shortage. He says, deep state just doesn't stop. You know, it's funny, when that plane went missing and they claimed they went looking in the ocean for it and they couldn't find anything. I'm telling you, if you ever watch the TV series, The Event, this one, it's all right here. See the plane? That's a portal. They took that plane through a portal and transferred it like 2,000 miles away. Nobody knew it went missing. Watch this series. There's a lot in here. Okay. So I think it went through a portal and it's somewhere. He says Time Warner just terminated their contract with One American News, or OAN, showing how desperate they are to try and contain the narrative. He said, so that's gone. He says, folks, Alex says, folks, they are truly exposing themselves. These companies became international conglomerates by starting here in the US, by the American people supporting these companies. And when they first started, and now they've become so big, they give everyone the finger and turn on everyone. Again, showing their true colors. That's why we have to boycott. He says 99.9% what our media says about Russia is bullshit. He says, I have received information that Biden administration went to a very specific 5-star general whose last name starts with a V. I forgot to look that up. And oh my God, I don't know why I don't know that, but you might. I'll have to look that up. And demanded the nuclear codes and the football, the real football. He says they're concerned Russia's going to nuke the US and that Russian troops are going to kill Americans in the Ukraine. He says, well, American military really has no business being in the Ukraine, number one. And number two, the military has been sent there with no weapons. Just for the record, he says, they were sent there with no weapons. He says, this particular general told them to go F themselves. So that's what he says. So that tells you everything you need to know about this administration. It's illegitimate. They know the election was stolen, and where it goes from here is anyone's guess. He says it's going to get interesting, and it's getting interesting right now. He says we have the exposure and corruption of the US government, which is prevalent. We have a stolen election and a fake administration allegedly running this country. You have 100 plus countries or nations that are so fed up with the lies and corruption, deceit, and manipulation of the corporate and global central banking system that has been suffocating freedom everywhere, that they're going to destroy the US dollar here in the near future. Now, you have to understand, he says, this isn't necessarily an attack against the American people. It's not, he said, but you have to understand that for many people, they are only now coming to the conclusion that the Federal Reserve was never a government agency. It was a private banking cartel, and there's still many people that don't know anything about it. It's beyond me. I don't know how people don't know about that. I've just always been a person that has done my research, I guess, because I want to know more. I want to know the truth. And like, I knew this, gosh, probably 15 years ago or more. He says they cannot comprehend it and the horrible things that have been done in our name. He says, as if it isn't bad enough, then there's Uranium One. This is where the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton State Department sold military-grade uranium to Russia. And the first samples of that military-grade uranium was flown to Moscow and delivered to the Russian military by no other than Robert Mueller III, at that time, director of the FBI. Huh, yeah. So I think I've said it in my other videos, Obama was the Antichrist. With the prophecies from Nostradamus talking about the Antichrist and how this person will come in and be a real charmer and a real smooth talker and persuade the people, you know, and everybody, when he was first elected, it was great. First Black president, you know, he's going to do great. You know, this is opportunity for us to advance, whatever. You know, everyone thought that was great. And then after a few years, things started happening. And like, by the second term, I was like, probably before his second term, I was like, holy crap, he's the Antichrist. He is the Antichrist. I'm telling you. And I'm finding out it's true. Good Lord. But I never voted before in my whole life. So the first time I voted was this past in 2020 when I voted for Trump. Because I remember walking into work and telling my boss or my friend and saying, you know, he's a businessman, he's not a politician, and he can run this country. So I was excited about it. So I registered to vote, and that was the first time I voted. So he says, that's how bad it's gotten. You have to have some perspective and see how this house of cards has to come down. It's due, he said. And then he says, Alex says, you also need to understand as this comes down, as everything comes crashing down, other things are going to be in its place. This is where we are talking about Nasara Kasara, restoration of the Constitutional Republic, or Constitution of 1792. As all these corrupt institutions go away and people are prosecuted, you need to understand that the government goes local. All things are going local. All government is going local. It will be global, not just in the US, although the US will get the blunt of it because of what we have allowed to happen, whether we knew it or not. We have to take responsibility. On the back end of it, we will be an incredible nation. He said, absolutely incredible nation. I'm so excited. I'm just like, LFG, let's go. Let's go. I'm so tired of waiting. I just want it to like, let's go. He said, I've tried to tell you to have food storage, prepare yourself, your pantry, make sure your pantry is well stocked, medicines, holistic medicines, all of that. Pet food, make sure if you have pets, have backup pet food. Buy gold and silver, he says, whatever you can do. For the interim between the transition of the fiat reserve note, which is just paper and ink, and the transition to the new currency, which is the US note, not dollar, asset-backed currency. This is a transitional system. He said, many of the banks have been told the way they do business will change and that their hours will also be changing, and all of this begins April 1st. So that's literally, next week. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Alex says, we don't know about the timelines. So many timelines we've been told are fed that just didn't happen, but the actions are all there, which they are. And the implementation is all there. It's just, we don't know the timeline, but you need to prepare mentally and emotionally for these changes, these shifts, which are truly for the betterment of humanity. Then you will be prepared for the change we are all having to go through. He said, the way we've been living, our style of living, our day-to-day, the implementation outside of our home is going to be different. There's going to be changes, and some will appear radical, but it is just what it is. It is. It's going to be shocking. It's going to be hecka shocking for a lot of people because we're not used to. We've lived our whole lives. Like I said, you grow up, you go to school, you graduate from school, you go to college, you go to university, you do that, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, everything's, the way they want you to live. It's not how you really want to be living. Like I said before, can you imagine living in a world where, you don't have to wake up to an alarm clock to go to a job that you freaking hate so bad? Your stomach won't be in a knot. You won't be stressed out anymore. You can do basically anything you want when you want. Whatever your passion is in life, like that's what you need to be doing. I just can't imagine, and it would be nice when we get money from our trust and you don't have to worry about paying bills, because most of these bills we're paying, our electric bill, our phone bill, all this stuff should be free. You shouldn't have a mortgage. We're supposed to go back to 1950s pricing on things. Holy moly, that would be fabulous. Can you imagine? I mean, You could actually buy food for your family. And to have all your income tax money back, just your income tax alone, if you're not having to pay that out, like your spouse wouldn't have to work. I wouldn't have to work just to make the extra money to pay for food and prescriptions and things like that. Like, it's going to be fabulous and very shocking, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the change, you guys. He says, the dark is being transformed into the light. And this is what we all wanted all this time. We wanted more light here, and it's here. That's why this negative field is not only being exposed, but it's going away. And it's unfortunate for a lot of people because they are not awake yet. And our daily lives move in and out of this negative field. Well, it's no longer going to be there. That means the way we live our life day to day is going to change. There will be no dependence on that negative field at all because it's gone. It will disappear. Come up. He says half of our government in the US, more than half, will vanish and it will be gone overnight, which means a lot of people will lose their jobs. They may lose their pensions. They may lose property and wealth if they were involved with crimes against humanity. And it's mind-boggling about how many people were involved. Insane. I'm like, what is wrong with these people if they're human? Like, I know most of them aren't human, but if you are human and you're doing this, wow, yeah, you're mentally, there's something mentally wrong with you. He says there's lots of things coming down and there's no way to sugarcoat this. He says, except when we get through this, we are going to be phenomenal. We will have freedom, and that freedom will be the responsibility of everyone individually. And that might be the biggest thing for people to realize. No more higher authority telling you what to do and how to live. He says now there, so he had a vent session. I don't know who this person is. Like, I'm thinking I know who they are, but I'm not quite sure. He says there's a European operative that talks about a particular relationship with a star system. He says his name begins with a P. He talks about bombs being all over the atmosphere and surrounding our solar system with all that. He says we can't have any interactions with our star families or star nations until all these bombs are gone or been removed. And there's a timeline of between now and April 24th. He was really mad. And he said, ladies and gents, that's all fucking bullshit. He says, I don't know how else to say it. I'm just saying it the way it is. He says, and they can't do things because of the astrological bullshit, all that. He says it's all just crap. He says, yeah, dude, I'm calling you out. And he basically tells this person to get a hold of him because he wants to go one-on-one. I don't know who that person is. I'm gonna have to look that up. Maybe you guys do. He says, ladies and gents, ETs don't do astrology. They don't. The only reason they want to know about star systems, star fields, gravity waves, pulsars, all of that is for space travel. That's why. So they don't kill themselves jumping into hyperspace or at light speed. He says, in fact, they have AI systems that measure and calculate those things already. So number two, they time travel. They're not subject to fictitious imaginary bombs in the atmosphere. They could come in before they were even put up. He says it's all crap. And I have been asked specifically by him, he pointed up, to call it out. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I love his passion. He says, also, there was a story for information where the Black nobility went to Antarctica to cut a deal where they were going to be taken off world. He said they're going to be taken to a planet where they can be nice to each other. He says, that's not happening now. He said, even if it was true, it's not happening now. Because whatever terms they may or may not have made, they never kept their bargain whatsoever. He says, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus on this, and that's not my intention, but whatsoever deals go on the table, a deal goes on the table and is no longer on the table. They're not leaving this planet in physical form at all. He says they are going to pay for what they have done to humanity and for what they continue to do. He says that needs to be clear, absolutely crystal clear. They're done. And once the US dollar, Federal Reserve, is done, he says they're powerless. And no matter how much gold they have, they're never going to use it because they're never going to see it. He said, now there's a story out there that they are going to collapse the dollar in order to create the Great Reset. That may have been their intention years ago, but they cooked up this scam. When they cooked up the scam, he says, but ladies and gentlemen, the US asset-backed note and the gold is already here. You see? And the nations that all are a part of this Nisargasara, they already have the assets to back up everything they have to do in order to move into this transition out of this slave Rothschild central banking system into true freedom again. So you need to be aware of this. He says, in the info that is out there is we just have to put all the pieces together to see how this is playing out. He says it's drama, okay? It's a scripted drama. He says, however, the ending belongs to someone else. He says that's humanity. The actual ending belongs to humanity and not these scumbags. So when these things happen, you have to stay grounded. All right? Stay grounded. Go outside. Go in nature. Watch a sunset. Do your meditation if that's what you like. Yoga. Be calming. Put your bare feet in the grass. Walk the earth. Yeah. Stay grounded. Because I think we're already seeing, we're seeing the drip, 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 and the drip is getting bigger. And pretty soon it's gonna flood. And it's just gonna be so overwhelming. So stay grounded. Burn your sage. In fact, that's what he says in here. So let me move on. There's another story I've seen on Knights of Terra. He says it's interesting. I'm not going to mention the woman's name. He says, I believe she's in Australia or New Zealand, about information on Earth splitting between 3D, 5D. He says, not happening. This is not the plan, never was the plan. Those people that do not transition from 4th into 5th will return back to source. End of story. They will start over. That's just what it is. The earth herself is tired of being abused. She is tired of everything and she's not splitting herself. He says, now why in the world would that help her? Wouldn't. We are the cells basically on Mother Earth, okay? What happens to us happens to Mother Earth, and what happens to Mother Earth happens to us. We are a part of her. So She ascends, we ascend with her. And you cannot have these negative lower energies with the higher frequencies mingling together. And I know there's a lot of talk about, oh, we're going to be like all living together. You can't have a society like that because these people down here don't understand us and we don't understand them. So how can you function as a society if you have lower negative functions with higher frequency people? You can't. Okay, something has to happen. So as much as I want everyone to raise in frequency and we all go together, either we're going to get a flash of something, a solar flare or solar flash, and maybe that will help people just wake up, like I said, and we can all ascend together, or those it's not in their contract to, like he said, they're going to pass away and they're going to go home to source, to their home planet, and they will be reborn to learn more lessons and go through life. He says Mother Earth is moving from third to fourth, and at some time in the future into fifth. He says that's her plan, that's her intention, that's her desire. Those of us 200 plus star seeds that have come back here, we are here to help with that transition. The rest of humanity that's on board, that is already here, they will also make that transition. Some will make it to the fourth, and some will find their original star families, and they will continue their existence and the revolution. Those of us from fifth or higher, we will transition into fifth and then go our ways. That's what's going to happen. So yeah. He says there's a former FBI agent talking about a fake UFO invasion. God, I forgot his name. I can picture his face, but I can't think of it. He laughed and he says, it would be fake, no doubt about it. It would be fake. He says, however the Alliance allows for a fake invasion to happen here, then we would have a bigger problem to deal with. He says, we would have a massive problem. He says, as fun as it could be, I just don't see it happening. And I don't either, because I don't think they have control of Project Bluebeam anymore. I don't think they have the technology to pull that off. He says, humanity has already been through so much trauma. Humanity is going to be going through some more trauma as our way of life for the last 400 years changes, like almost overnight. There will be a period of time where humanity's survival will depend on communities, where communities all over the planet will come together and rely on each other and say, what do we do? How do we do this? We're going to need to start over, and it's global. Government is going local. That means you, me, all of us are responsible for what happens in our communities and our states, provinces, countries, etc. He says your federal governments are going away because they're all corrupt. Of course they are. Every single country on this planet has the finest government money could buy. He says, and believe me when I tell you they've been bought. Flat out been bought. He says, and then he kind of gets back into saying about the earth not splitting. He says the universe is not stupid. It's never been stupid. He says we just don't understand because all this information about how our universe works and the spiritual component of our universe and who we are have been withheld and hidden from us and been substituted for religions, which were created to dominate the mind and the soul. That was their intent. That was their purpose. That's what they were implementing all along. Yeah, because if you have so many different religions, what does that do? That divides us. You're that religion, you're that religion, you're that religion. Well, your religion sucks because it's not mine. Like, it's crap, okay? Shouldn't matter. Should just believe in a creator. We are part of it. He says the PCR tests were used for a specific purpose, and I knew this the minute those things came out. I'm like, they're trying to get our DNA. They're trying to figure out where our lineage is, where our bloodline is from. That's what they're trying to do. So he says this. PCR tests were used for a specific purpose to create a data bank for everyone's DNA, and the deep state had been able to carry out their extermination of humanity. They would have access to know where to go for specific bloodlines and lineages. So now, some of that could be to track specific Black nobility bloodlines so that they could capture those individuals and use their blood and or their organs for harvesting so that the nobility would thrive and survive. You understand what I am saying? Drug that starts with A. If you've followed all this, you know what I'm talking about. The others are for extermination or termination. So I've seen stuff on Telegram. There's been news reports about these tests and these DNAs, and they're able to basically break it down to specific races of people. So if they want to take out a specific race, all they got to do is target that, like develop some kind of virus that affects that bloodline and make it wipe out a whole race. And it just got chills. That's horrible. Horrible. Who the hell do they think they are? Ugh. He says, now the bloodline of Mary Magdalene, he says they really wanted to find. He said they've been trying to find that for thousands of years. He says that bloodline is very well protected. There's a reason for it, which will be coming very, very clear soon. Understand that. He says that bloodline is off-world. Mary Magdalene's bloodline is not of this planet. It is off-world. That doesn't surprise me at all, because you know what? I think Melania is too. She's either Palladian or she's something. She's not from here. Look at her eyes. This woman is as old as me, and she's toned. She's like, yes, I know she was model, but like, look at her eyes. Like her eyes are like cat-like. They're just, she's beautiful. She's just beautiful. So there's something about her. She's not of this planet. He says there are stories about a rogue planet that is bigger than Jupiter and blocks the sun when it comes through and wreaks havoc, which we all seem to be calling either Collier'S or Nibiru. He says it is not a star or a planet. He says it's a planetary starship. It's a planetary starship that belongs to Anu of the Anunnaki, the Nibiru clan. That's what Yellow Rose for Texas, if you follow her, she says all these planets are ships. So she calls Earth a ship, Earth ship. We're an Earth ship. He says it is able to control itself, this planetary starship, and it changes trajectory and it can change its orbital path. He said, I just wanted you to know about that. There's nothing rogue about it. There's all this stuff that there's out there, and I'm trying to bring some clarity in what this all means. This is not the end of the world, folks. He says, it's the beginning of humanity's freedom, our true beginning. He says, this is where we are able to look at the past and everything it consists of: hybridization, genetic creation, genetic manipulation, slavery of all races. All races, he said, have been slaves on this planet. Doesn't matter your color. We've all been slaves. End of story. And right now, we are all slaves to a monetary system. He says, so let's stop the bullshit, okay? He said that narrative, that division is how they've stayed in power all this time. That's why they created religions to divide. That's why they've separated us into and to create different languages to divide humanity. Because if you don't know, of course, and supposedly the first written accounts of history were from Sumerian times. And at one point, everyone spoke the same language. And then to divide and conquer the people, they created their religions. They created all these different languages so people couldn't communicate and talk to each other. It's genius in a way, right? Like, he says, this is why they divided and they've altered history to divide humanity. He said, when we separate from the past, as we begin the process of leaving 3D behind into 4D, we will see it with extraordinary clarity of what all of that represented. We will know it. We will know what it is. We will all know how humanity was used. He said, we are getting to the point where we are going to see changes in the dimensions in our world. He said, just now it's coming. Oh, just no. I'm telling you, I can't read my writing sometimes. Just know it's coming, he says. There's no turning this around, he said, okay? And it's an amazing thing. It's amazing what we are all going through. And I know it's tough, he said, to see the forest through the trees, he said. I so get that, he said, and I understand it's difficult waiting for things to happen, but you have to understand things are happening. They are. We are not everywhere on this planet to know and to see all the things that are happening. We're looking at our tiny phones on the idiot box or waiting for it to tell us what's real and what's not. He said, and we all know they're not capable of telling us the truth because the truth exposes who they are and all the lies and deception we've all been living under. You're making yourself crazy waiting for this or that to tell you what's real. You should feel it from here. You should know it from your soul, from your heart. It should tell you the truth. Like I said, when you raise your frequency, you will know who's lying to you, okay? You know who isn't a good person. You just get that feeling, You will be able to tell who's telling the truth to you and who is lying. Do it every day. Every day when I go to work, I work with people I know are lying to my face. And it's hard. It's hard to deal with. He says the answer is on the inside. I didn't read that before I said that. It has always been on the inside, and it will always be on the inside. He says, we have been inverted. We have been drowned. Oh, we have been drawn outside of ourselves to virtually be completely simulated by the outside world, which is fictitious, which has been a fraud for thousands of years. He says it's time to embrace and trust or practice trusting your own intuition, your own gut sense. See, this is going to be a very difficult task for men, he says. He said some men can do this and they have this balance already, but no way is it near enough. He says, gentlemen, the feminine principle is here. She's present. She's exercising her frequency. She's reestablishing herself as an equal partner with this planet. As the matrix falls away, what we are going to see is the true feminine principle. Turn out the see, I can't. Throughout the planet, around the planet has been suppressed, manipulated, and tortured. We didn't know any better. However, that doesn't justify the male behavior towards the feminine principle everywhere. Like these Middle Eastern countries where the poor women have to like cover themselves up completely. Oh, God forbid. Can't show any skin. Ugh. We have to be responsible for that, he says. We have to own that. And somewhere down the road, the feminine principle will forgive. What we have to do as the male, he says, is we have to genuinely, authentically make the decision that we are going to be responsible partners. Be in a responsible relationship with the feminine principle. Now, whether you're a husband, a father, a divorcee, a single parent, he says we have to recognize our role as men, as human beings are changing. And it's about to change in a very big way, he said, in order to be in balance with the frequencies and the changes that are here now and that are coming in profound ways. A lot of men have to come to terms with their narcissism. Yeah, my husband's like that. Yeah. It's no longer justified if it ever was. It's no longer going to serve you in any way, shape, or form. And if you have it because of a wound, and it's a protective mechanism for you, you're all going to have to deal with it. Those feelings are all going to come to the surface. Okay, you're going to have to deal with that. He says, you're going to have to heal it, to own it, to see it, because the balance between the two frequencies is going to force you to deal with it. He says it's all going to come out for healing. And ladies, you're going to have to own your own issues as well, but it's for the better. It will only enrich and strengthen who we are on the inside, our inner core, the core of our spiritual being, which when we're in spirit, he says, is the balance, the perfect balance. It's just that when we came into the physical body and into this particular world, we came with an ego, with a subconscious, and what happens is the way the world has been structured, the mask becomes more predominant than who we are truly as soul. He says, so we begin after a while because of our upbringing, our environment, the way we're raised, in the way the world was structured, the mask becomes more predominant than the soul. Hi, Amber. Hi. He says, well, the mask is going away. It is being peeled off and removed by source, by creator. The experiments and manipulations we know as Earth is changing, and we are in it. He says, knock, knock, and it's knocking at the door right now as we speak. It says the Schumann resonance, whether the sun is hyperbolic or not, is here with its pegging or pinging. They are trying to block it out. They're blacking out the Schumann graph for hours or days at a time. He says you need to understand the driving force for this frequency is humanity itself. It's us. It says we're doing this whether you realize it or not. There's a part of you that is fully awake inside of you, and it's saying, hello, hey, wake up. It's time. What you came here to do, this is it. You got to wake up. You're not crazy. This is what it's always been about. This is why you came here from 4th or 5th or 6th or 9th or 11th. He says, this is why you came here. The time is now. He says, it's an exciting time, ladies and gentlemen. And you know, there are no classes for this. I think this is why he said so many people are traveling at night and going to starships and sitting in classrooms. You're being shown what's coming, and you're being given tools to help, not only for yourself and when this transition occurs, but not only for your communities and your families. So if you've watched some of my past videos, I've talked about, I've had many astral journeys of going to school. I've been on starships before with my mother, looking down at the earth, saying, I gotta go, it's time to go. I've been in these classrooms, and throughout the years, like it started in elementary school and it's graduated, and I've gone to junior high, I've gone to high school, I've been in college. Like I never physically in this life have been to college, but in my astral travels, I've been going to these classes. I don't remember right now sitting here like what those classes were about. But yeah, I remember walking out. It was a ship. To me, it looked like a mall. I could just describe it as like a mall, like a food court kind of area. But there were lots of little shops, and you could, either go sit and eat like a food court, or you could go shopping. And I just remember looking at all I have so many astral travels of going to these stores where there's, all these little knickknacks. And I just remember a cute little towel with little kitty cats on it, or there were live actual cats, like cat creatures on this ship, but they weren't like a normal cat. They were like, I want to say, if you know of like the Windstone creations by Pena, if you look them up, they have sculptures of these cats. They're like round. They're like fat, chubby cats. And that's what these cats look like. They're just fat, chunky, round kitty cats. And they were on the ship too. And when you go there, like I said, there's many people. Like some people have a social anxiety. But when you're there, like you don't feel that way like you do here on this planet. When you're there, like, yeah, there's many people, but nobody cares, nobody has that social anxiety that we do here. So it's really, it's just so different. He says, Alex says, I had a conversation yesterday with a gentleman about why starseeds and walk-ins had to be educated for 100 years in our time before they came here to Earth. And he says, well, Earth is a very tough school, and you're in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th density, living in those realms, and then coming here. Wow. He says, like, it's a shock. He says, and I think the biggest shock is not just the physicality and the frequency, because you can be prepared for that. He says, but it's coming into the physicality with the poisons in the environment and the consciousness that is prevalent on this planet. He says that's enough to scare the shit out of anybody. You know, you're in those other realms, like I said, and you just don't care. Like, you don't have that social anxiety, but then you volunteer to come here, and you have all this pressure and the stress and the social anxiety and the poisons that we eat, we breathe, you know, we drink. And yeah, like, we are the bravest of the brave. You are watching this. You are some of the bravest of the brave for coming here. Okay, we are. This is the ghetto. He says, so I wanted you to know, I wanted to share this information with you. There's more coming. He says, I'm just going to give it to you in little drips. He says, I've covered some interesting things today, very important things. I'm giving you off-world perspectives. And that's all I've tried to do for 30 plus years, is give you their, meaning the Andromedans, perspective of what the hell is going on here. Ultimately, what you think and believe is on you. He says, I don't know if any of you sage. He says, I recommend that you sage your homes once every 2 weeks to clear the energy and the frequency. He says, if you use chimes, he says, tacking on crystals, crystal balls, music, mantras, prayers, whatever it is that you do, he said, stay on top of it, please. He says, there is going to be a great deal of fear projected onto humanity. You need to understand this fear is being created specifically to force you into a position of subservience. And it's the old group, Black Nobility, that's wanting to do this, okay? He says it's all on them. They are the ones that are terrified, but they're going to project it onto you. So I think I will, hopefully if I get time next week, I will do a video that's on my list to do of how to make a sage spray. I use it every day before I go to work. I spray down my aura. Before I go to bed, I spray my aura. Yeah, because I don't sage too much. My husband hates the smell of sage burning in the house. I didn't like it at first, but I've gotten used to it and it's fine. And I usually go through every room and every closet, even the garage. Like, I go through everything, but it's been a while and I need to stay on top of it too. But I do use my spray every day for me personally. He says, so he was talking about, yeah, so they're going to project their fear onto you. He says, because they're sociopaths. He says, that's just who they are. He says, and they need energy. They need your energy. They need to feed off of us because all of their energy, all of their wealth, all their power is being drained from them because they're dark. And when we transition from darkness into the light, and the light is predominant, the darkness goes away. They are fighting the light, and they've already lost the battle. They know what's in store for them, so they are terrified. He said, you're either with the flow and the transition, or you push your own reset button and go home. Wow, okay. So then he answers, I think I had one question, one big main question. The rest of the questions for the last hour are a lot of stuff that he's already covered or that I've talked about. So I don't like to run this real long because I know people's, you know, your attention span, anyone's attention span nowadays, like I know I can't watch a video for more than it's hard for me for anything over an hour. So hopefully I'm trying to cut this short for you guys. But there was a question that says, with the fiat system done, what about income taxes? This person says, I have a small business that I pay into. Do we do this, or will we get it back? I have a family to consider. And Alex's answer was, we all do. We have ourselves to consider. And it is my understanding, and I guess we will have to weigh it before it's fully implemented, that at least here in the US, the income tax system is unconstitutional. In fact, it was never ever properly ratified in the US. And again, those books written by, he said, former congressman, he said, Bill Richardson, he said, I believe his name was, the law that, there's a book called The Law That Never Was, clearly shows that this was never properly ratified. It has been a snow job, he says, from day one, and it was a way for the International Banking Consortium, which was not only made up of the 13 families, but I believe 13 banks, private banking systems, to use the income tax system to get their interest out of the people every year, because though that money went to the Treasury, it was then transferred to the Bank of England, and that's how it worked. Then the Bank of England would distribute the interest payments to the other 12 families. It was a masterful plan. They really thought this out in a very diabolical way. That's why all these families, these 13 bloodlines, are so rich, and they don't work, because we're the slaves. We go to work, we bust our ass for them, okay? And they get our money. They get our money. Don't get me started on that one. He says, it's my understanding there will no longer be an income tax. They will go to a sales tax, and the US will go back to an excise, some kind of tax, he said, which is how it supported itself for 160 plus years before the corporate US was formed and came into existence. There has been a lot of manipulation. We will see how this all works. The banking system is moving to a blockchain system anyways. He says all banks have to be on blockchain, which means your accounts will be totally yours. The banks will not have control of it or be able to go into it, manipulate it for any reason unless you authorize it. That's the other thing I've seen on some of these Telegram channels. So many people are saying most of what they're seeing is the banks are down. The banks system is going, like, having technical issues, so no one can get in to make payments or do anything with their banks, because it's all changing. It's all changing over, guys. It's happening. He says there's a lot of change coming, and we will have to see how it's all rolled out. But everyone is being held accountable. Everyone, regardless of their station in life, will be responsible for what they do and how they behave and the way they act towards each other. And we have quite the audience up there, he says. Biggest reality show ever here on Earth, right? He says, to see if we do in fact rise to the occasion. So the way they observe us, think about us, and the conversations they have regarding us does in fact matter, okay? Because where focus goes, energy flows. These are higher frequency, multi-dimensional beings. We want their input, as it only benefits humanity, and not only raises our frequency, it raises our level of consciousness as well. And the more of that we get, the faster we climb, the faster we move to higher ground. And that's what this is all about. He said, first day of school, folks. Okay, so that's all I have. Hopefully you enjoyed some of that information. Like I said, he always has some different things. It just depends on questions asked, or, you know, I've been watching him for, 10 plus years, 12 years now. And yeah, I just love his information. And I think he's always been right. He's just always been right. So, support him if you're able to get in on a live webinar on his Brighteon page. He's also at alexcollier.org, and support him. He's got JP and James is his tech guy that help him. So support them as best you can. I wish I could do a live. I'm always at work on Fridays with retail, so I never get a chance. So I just wonder, like, my question, and I haven't heard anybody ask about it. Like, we know that income tax is probably going away. If income tax is going away, then I'm assuming our credit system with TransUnion, Equifax, all those 3 top companies, I'm pretty sure they're going to have to go away too. Because it all depends on your credit. And see, the only reason we have that credit system is so the elite families know if you are capable of paying that back, which is your own money from your own trust given to you, but they want to make sure you're paying back so they get their money. Think about it. Like, does no one think about that when you realize this has happened? It makes you mad, makes you angry. So credit system has to go away too. We shouldn't have that. It shouldn't matter because we will be in charge of our own money and no one else will have it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I do want to do, like I said, a few more videos. I might do one about the moon. That's kind of on my list too. Like I said, if you have any ideas, just let me know. Like, shoot me an email. That I haven't been through my email in probably a couple weeks, 2.5 weeks. So I apologize if anybody has sent me an email. I will hopefully get it in there today and see and answer questions or get back with you. But thank you so much for watching. I know it's hard. I know it's hard, guys. There's so much happening, but I have so much faith and I have so much hope. And I love you guys. I wish I could give all of you a big hug. You are my tribe, my soul family. And I just appreciate you watching me. So if you like this, share, subscribe. Yeah. And I don't ask for donations. I have a PayPal account, but like, if you want to, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. Like, I have a job. I don't really need the money. Extra would be nice, but I'm just doing this to help you guys and get out information. So I've had lots of information in my head for, probably 30 years. And thank God now I'm able to like get it out and share with other people that I'm not crazy and I'm not psycho, because there's so many other people that are finally waking up to this. So thank you so much for watching. I love all of you. Hopefully I will see you soon again. Thanks. Bye.